can't believe it, April solution sync. So those of you that survived Q1, congratulations, you made it. The bad news is there are 3 other quarters, and everyone is the most important one ever. So keep that in mind. So this month, I just want to do a quick introduction. This is Jay Platt, been running these now for a few months. Just want to do an introduction of Brett, who is going to take us today through strategic portfolio management and beyond. So our target process solution, talking about SPM and whatnot. And then at the end, as always, we'll wrap with any Q&A, go through upcoming enablements, places you can go to get enabled. And please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will be monitoring that as Brett goes through the presentation and jumping in and asking those questions on your behalf as they come up. So I will hand to you, Brett, to get it rolling.
Perfect. Thanks, Jay. Hey, everyone. Brett Piontek here. I'm the brand technical specialist for Target Process. And my specialty, of course, is strategic portfolio management and beyond, actually. So a little bit of a background on me. So we're going to be talking a little bit here. I'll just put a few blurbs about me here. So yeah, my background is really in enterprise transformation, portfolio program, Agile, traditional PMO, you name it too, I've done it somewhere. So I come in from a practitioner's standpoint. So a lot of my efforts are focused on the technical enablements and field and partner innovation in the space. So I spend a lot of time in target process. On a personal note here, you got a picture of my dogs here. I am an unapologetically obsessed dog dad. And I do live in Northern California, so I'm very close to the redwoods. So I'm always there with my mini Aussie and my other mixed dog here. So I like to show that. All right, so let's get into strategic portfolio management. All right, so this is a very, very broad topic. I'm going to do my best to condense and streamline as I can too, but how that applies and how we can use target process as a vehicle for that too. So a few facts here that we like to talk about. So 70% of digital transformations fail to achieve their objectives. I don't think this is new to anyone. Anyone who's been in a large transformation area, that sounds about right. Might even sound a little bit high in some cases. Right, so only 35% of organizations say that they can effectively translate their strategy into their actual execution. Right, and we'll talk a little bit more about those disconnects and how we can round that up together here. So here are some of the challenges on executing on strategy here. So a lot of times the strategy is disconnected from the rest of the work that's going on downstream. You got people making decisions at the top. Keeping that continuity all the way down is really difficult. There's no way to really connect it or see it. I like to call it the telephone game. A lot of times it's like by the time it gets down to the teams, the story is completely changed, even though the strategic goals never really changed here. Another issue is limited visibility across the portfolios, right? So we've got different portfolios, different groups and people. Just being able to see that all in one place is really hard. That affects decision making, and leaders are kind of like competing or trying to figure out like, hey, is that making a difference in our business? And are we hitting our goals because of that, right? Also, just the lack of flexibility to adapt. Despite Agile being around for a while, that ability to adapt and change too, a lot of times it's a mix of delivery methods from traditional waterfall, usually interestingly executed waterfall, but also Agile and such too. So you got mixes of methods, teams doing things in different ways too. So it makes it really tough to shift and move and standardize. All right. So let's talk about what strategic portfolio management is. Now, it's a very, very basic definition. It's pretty broad. It covers pretty much everything. But let's talk about it in this context. What we're trying to do is we're talking about like strategy to execution, right? We want to make sure that those goals, those strategies, those KPIs, those things that we're trying to achieve as a company and mid-level and down, that those things are aligned all the way down to the actual execution and delivery of getting things done. So basically creating value all the way down. So we start at the top with the strategic alignment, right? Are we doing the right things? Are we selecting the right work? Are those things going to move the needle? That's really the portfolio management aspect. Getting down to the program, we're kind of creating our systems and flows to make sure that those things are happening. Then all the way down to the teams and the execution level, that's like the project management piece. So on the agile side, that's going to be like your iterations and your teams executing. In a traditional sense, it's really going to be like um, a a temporary team that's selected together to deliver those things too. So strategic planning is a big part. We got to align those portfolios, those programs. We need to make sure that those business objectives are aligned. The portfolio management aspect is going to be connecting that strategy and funding those things and the staffing those things. Resource management is like, hey, my teams and people, are those things balanced across the board? And then the financial piece, right? So a lot of times, especially in the private sector, you're going to see a lot of things like, hey, what's my capitalization versus my operations cost, my CapEx, OpEx, or how much is it cost to run this thing versus to grow the business or grow this towards the business? That's another way. Other things like internal labor capitalization, contract work, labor splits, non-labor splits. Those are the types of things that people want to see. All right. So strategic portfolio management is the key to connecting those things through. And this is where target process comes into play. So getting that alignment, we need to bridge that gap between the strategic goals and the execution. So we need to make sure that, hey, are we looking at the right things? Are those priorities in there? I need to make sure that my investments, the people, those outcomes are all tied together and strung together. And I need to be able to see the visibility of those progress at all those levels. How is the progress of the projects to the program and portfolio contributing to the strategic goals? All right. Transparency. It's like a single pane of glass that has multiple dimensions. People look at things different ways, but making sure that it's a single source of truth. So that way I can make those decisions. I get as much real-time information as I have, and I can also like pick out like, hey, what's not doing so well? Where do we need to shift? And that sort of thing. So, and on the agile side, and this not so much from method, it's more about my ability to change and shift with the times or meet the moment, if you will, facilitating that coordination across those different methodologies. If they're hybrid, if they're only one in one portfolio, you want to be able to shift and change based on that. Making sure, again, resources are put together. And that's like if they're individuals, if they're collected in teams of teams, the ability to shift and move those percentages around to meet the needs of the portfolio. And also looking at, hey, how am I going to do this if I do scenario A versus scenario B? Okay, so that's SPM in a nutshell, strategic portfolio management. But what we want to do is get into some product updates, things that you may or may not have seen yet, as we've been going through some of these things. So we're going to talk about two things that have been developed in the last, let's say, several months too. We did some announcements at TBMC. So first thing first, the SPM Control Center and the AI Assistant preview. Oops, I'm going to hit here. I'm going to shift over into Control Center here really quick. Okay, so for those who don't know yet, the Control Center is really a foray into a new UX UI experience, right? So basically, this is like just the starting point of us going to what we call Carbon. It's kind of like it's a visual uplift, if you will, that's consistent across IBM's portfolio. So we're foraying into that too. Control Center is basically a much more controlled, boxed viewpoint, but it's the starting point of how we're going to be managing visuals going forward. So I'm going to pop over into a few views in terms of priorities. So this might look a little bit different than what you're used to seeing in target process, but here's an example of like looking at corporate goals. So at the top level, I'm looking at things like, hey, how many corporate goals do I have? How many mid-level strategic goals do I have? And the key results in the track. So it's just a single dashboard that shows that. But if I want to look at my corporate goals, this might look familiar to you guys in comparison to what it looks like in target process. But basically, I'm looking at my corporate goals, like accelerate AI-powered product innovation, very top level, my progress against that, what my planned start and end there is, and my strategic objectives count. So if I go down a level in here, I can see the strategic objectives that are underneath that. So I've got four here. Here they are spread across the board. This is where a lot of the planning and work happens at this, what I would call the strategic or middle layer. And going down into, I can actually look into the key results that are driving this, and that drives those percentages. So like, hey, what do I want? I want 1,200 monthly active users of AI features on a particular product, start value, end value, 1,200. We're currently at 890, right? That's giving me my percentage. And I can track that across all kinds of different dimensions, okay? Let me just go back here. Is this gonna give me what I want? Actually, I think that's pretty good for this particular view too. I mean, if I go into the actual details here, I can see this too. Again, this is coming straight out of target process. I can see the overview, my key results, and the work items that are tied to it. So if you're looking at portfolio epics and you're looking at traditional projects that are tied to that, they're all here. If I need to go into actual target process and look at it, so think of it as kind of like the more detailed back end. I click in here, it's going to pop me in to the regular card. So this probably looks like everything else you're used to seeing. So in a nutshell, SPM Control Center is going to be pretty much this view. It's pretty fixed in terms of the data that's in there. But over time, we're expecting to expand this and also set up views that are a little bit more configured. It's going to be more of a summarized executive view for now. Okay. I see a hand up. Are there any questions pouring in on that before I move on? Do we see any questions in the chat on that?
We're good to move forward. No questions yet.
Got it. Okay. If there are, I'm happy to answer them or follow up later too. All right. So part two here. And now that I'm in target process here, we do have our AI chatbot that's coming into you. And by the way, this AI chatbot is across all of our products. So it's centralized as a function, but it communicates with all the products here and the schemas that we have here. So this is in private preview, I believe. Right now, it's going to be released to partners, I think, in the next couple of weeks, if I'm not. I don't know the exact dates too, but they are coming out to you. So look for announcements on that and follow-ups. And I'm going to pull up the bot. I need to refresh my screen a little bit here. Hoping my basement Wi-Fi is doing okay. Okay. So basically here, what it does is it can look through. Now, sometimes we kind of have to prompt it a little bit to tell it what we want. It does help to know things like your entity names and a little bit of your data structure, but it will find it if you look at it before. So let's just ask it a quick question about how many, I'm going to ask it a question like, can you list the job profiles I have for users? And we're going to give it a second to kind of go through here. So what I want to do is let's talk about a little bit about headcount and who I have available system. Yes.
We do have a question in the chat. AI will be bundled or come with a new SKU?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I believe that it is bundled, but don't quote me on that. I will have to follow up with product on what we expect to do. I believe, though, that it's going to be baked in.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. I have a feeling my basement Wi-Fi because I'm on video. Okay, so let's take a look here. Job profiles. Okay, I'm gonna have to prompt it a little bit. Look up job profiles of an entity and do it against users. Let's just see if it does this for me. Look, guys, this is what happens when we do it live. I did not preset this. I want you to see it for real.
Did you want to pop your camera off, Brett? That might help.
Maybe.
And I'll put full screen. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I can turn mine off for a minute.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So live things here too. It keeps asking. I don't know if it's I don't know if there's a connection issue. It keeps telling me to wait here too. It has not done this for me before, which is kind of interesting. So I'm having a feeling that this environment might be the issue too. So I might have to do a little post edit show to demonstrate it live too. But anyway, here's the assistant. You will be able to ask it questions. It can catalog against the data that's in your instance. So, but that is coming out soon. Okay, so moving on here, let's go back to our deck. All right, so I did want to share a couple of assets here that are going to be helpful for you in terms of like just being able to present this and help you understand it yourself too. So there are two big things that I like to give out here. And they're on Seismic right now, and they are client-facing, partner-facing. So the first thing is the SPM data sheet. By the way, I use this all the time in all of my conversations. We pass it out. We actually pass it out when I'm like at conferences and booths, like the SAFE conference or what have you too. We have these readily available. And it's a nice just 2-page summary of like what SPM is, a few customer stories here. So this is good for you guys as partners to tell the stories, and just a quick summary and screenshots of the areas we just talked about: the strategic planning, resource management, portfolio, and financial integration too. I use this all the time. Those of you who are on here who have met with me, you've seen this probably plenty of times to use. So it's a great one-pager. You can send it to anybody, PDF. It's free to send out. Hold on. And the other thing I want to show is its companion deck. And I've got to get back to, where's my PowerPoint? There we are. All right. And the other one in Seismic here is the client-facing deck for SPM. Right, so this goes through. You'll see a lot of the content that I just covered is actually already in here. So I use that. See, like the 70% digital transformation, but it does go much deeper here into the details of the content. And this introduces target process as part of that SPM portion. So obviously I wasn't gonna cover everything today because we have a short amount of time, but this goes through that here, the use cases. So basically it goes beyond what we show in the 2-pager there. But those are two things that I highly recommend. And I'm presuming, Gabby, correct me if I'm wrong, we send this deck out, right, with the links and everything, right?
It gets put onto Seismic, yes.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, good. There we have it. All right. So let me go back here. Okay. That is everything I have really for SPM. I'm going to check, did we get any other questions in the chat regarding SPM? I'm guessing no. And I'm looking really quick here, and this is going to look ugly if I do this. Okay, no, we're not going to do that.
There is a question, Brett.
Okay.
When will this be available to partners?
When will what be available to partners? The content? Is that what we're talking about? Or the AI portion? The AI portion. I believe, I want to say it's being released this week. If not this week, it's definitely this month. We are opening it up for partners too. So look for announcements from our product management group. They're gonna proactively say, like, now you'll have to work with product to do some enablement in your environments to showcase it and to play around with it. But yes, I believe it's coming up like in the next, if not this week, in the next couple of weeks. Okay. If there are no more questions, then I'll hang on here just in case, because we still got I think about 10 minutes left in the session. So if you have questions, bring them to me. And you can always follow up with us later, and we can always kind of hunt and find things later. Going into partner education, Sabiha, did we want to go over some of the March announcements?
Yes, thank you. So just to add on, Brett kept saying that there will be announcements, right? So one of the best places for you to be on top of these announcements and releases would be your IBM Tech Exchange for the partner topic group. So this deck that will be shared later will have all the release items that was posted in the month of March. In case you've missed it, we recommend that you go through the list. There are a lot of releases. With these releases, there have been some quick reference guides also that has been posted on the Tech Exchange. So definitely recommend that you check them out. If you could go to the next slide, please. Just scroll to the now. Yeah,
Whoops, sorry.
yeah, we're good. We're good. You can just move on because the deck will be shared with them later.
Mhm.
The next slide after this, I want to go to yeah, after the IBM training, this one here. So one other announcement that we wanted to make was, in case you don't know or you're not aware of it already, KubeCost Level 4 is now out for partners. That's on the next slide, Brett. So this KubeCost is now available for partners. Once you receive the deck, you can use the link that's available to directly access the training. Ensure you have signed up on IBM training before you access the level for KubeCost. Other than that, we don't have any other announcement, but stay on top of things by being on Tech Exchange. We have our partner success managers who are constantly ensuring that you get the information as soon as we get it. So that's all from my side. Over to you, Brett.
Cool. All right. So just a reminder of the Apptio Partner Ecosystem homepage where you can find these resources. I believe we put links to Seismic and all the other things that we've discussed today out there too. Keep in the know, discuss with your fellow partners and with us as well too. So it's a good place to ask questions and have discussions. Here's a plug for the Tech Exchange area, right? Looking at all these things here too. I'm sure most of you are signed up, but if you're not, I would highly recommend that. And we also have our partner marketing kits. We all know this too. This is again on Seismic. So if you get any of the links that you've seen before for these individual assets, they're also collected into marketing kits as well. Cool. All right.
These are the next dates.
Yeah, for May.
Yeah, these are the next dates for the May community call is on 26th. In case you haven't registered, do register. And the solution sync call is on May 5th, the next one. There's a question for you, Brett, in the chat as well about, like, I'm new to target process. Do you have many examples of clients using this offering to define and execute their AI strategy better?
I think we do. I'm trying to think of a couple off the top of my head, but we do have plenty of customer examples. Those are in Seismic. We have customer stories that are published. Also, we have internal ones that are published too. So if you have a specific example that you want, work with your partner team. We can dig those out there too. So when it comes to AI strategy, so we're talking about actually managing the AI strategy, I'm presuming. Like, how are you funding your AI strategies and tracking the value against that?
Yes.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. So yeah, I mean, so keeping in mind that that's usually a newer thing, right? Especially I'm putting that through here because target process doesn't just handle the AI funding, it handles all portfolios. Right. But there are probably a few examples where AI is a portion of it. I know that when I was doing it, portfolio management, that sort of thing, AI was like a significant part of the portfolio. I think my portion was like $65 million. It was pretty big. But the rules apply the same too. But if we're looking for some customer examples, we can probably find a few to where AI is still a significant part of their strategy. We can follow up on that. Okay, no other questions popping up now. I know that we're coming up to time here too, so I'm here to be in the hot seat for any other questions that are coming up. A little bit too much.
I think the seat has gone cold, Brett. The seat has gone cold.
I think so. Okay, guys. Well, I mean, I guess I'll wrap it up here unless there's any commentary from Sabiha or anyone else. But basically, that's the wrap up for SPM and target process. Feel free to send us your questions and we're happy to have those discussions. For me personally, if you can't tell, it's a passion of mine. That's why I do it too. And I love working with technology that enables that, because as we know, portfolio, program, all that stuff, it's a snowflake, right? Each customer is different, and it's complex, and it takes a special kind of person to be able to A, enjoy that, and B, talk about it effectively too. So that's what I'm here for. Okay. All right, with that, I think it's a wrap, everyone. I think we're good. We'll see you out there.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brett.